Okay. Now, let me pull up the things, and that'll also tell me if I'm actually live. Da da da. Come on. Help me out. Yes. Okay. We
Ah,
are
wonderful.
live on TikTok, which means presumably we're live everywhere. But let's go ahead and pull up YouTube as well so I can see the comments. I've got to find a better system than this for pulling in the comments from the different places than just me having my phone watching my own stream. But, one problem at a time. All right.
Exactly, exactly. And even
Now,
a lot of the like mega streamers, they just get a second monitor.
yeah.
So I don't really know if there's even like a good fix that will actually work.
Yeah. Yeah, and at this point, until I get a better computer, it's honestly better to have it on my own phone so it's not eating up the bandwidth on the computer. Um,
Mhm.
anyways, we're back. Thank you for everyone's patience. Sorry about that. We just had to kill the stream so that it would, fix the lag and we'd be back in real time with everybody. Um, but anyways, I think we were talking a bit about veiling and just kind of, taking back power, and that we didn't really understand what was so offensive, about withholding ourselves, because it wasn't that long ago that, putting too much of yourself out there was what was offensive. You were saying that you had kind of come to your veiling practice later, but that you do also see it as a form of, being visibly queer and being visibly religious, as a way to kind of exert some power and force the average, white Christian man to just confront the fact that, like, hey, we are out here living, and what are you gonna do about it? So, did you have other kind of thoughts on that topic, or did you want to kind of dive back into the rest of your story about kind of how you came to your practices of Judaism and kind of how your queerness folds in?
Um, I think that was all on the tickle, at least for right now. I might think of something later. I got an
Mm-hmm.
ADHD brain, so right now when
Oh,
I'm like
same,
trying to
same.
think about it, there's nothing coming, but it'll probably come when I'm telling some other random story.
Sure,
So we
yeah.
can just jump back into like how I got into my Judaism and stuff.
Okay, sounds
Is
good.
there any questions that you like specifically have or would like to know about like how I came to it or anything?
I'm always curious when somebody is raised more culturally religious, whether that's culturally Muslim, culturally Jewish, culturally Christian, if they just grew up like celebrating Christmas but not going to church, whatever, how they kind of came to connect with the more practicing side of things. So I'd love to hear more about that.
Oh, okay, of course. Um, so like I said, I didn't go to um like a Hebrew day school or anything growing up for like religious studies, as a lot of like m- again modern Orthodox or like ultra Orthodox, a lot of them attend like a Hebrew day school where they're taught the regular schooling like in connection with like Torah studies and things. But again, I did not have that at all. I went to the public school in my small little town, um, but it was never like I said before. We were always free to like explore what we believed in. So my older brother, actually the oldest of us, um, there was a point where he got really into being a practicing Buddhist, and like he literally like was a practicing Buddhist for like 6 years almost, um, while he was on his own personal journey. Um, again, like a lot of my siblings are agnostic or atheist. But my parents do still keep their practices, but they aren't, it's not like you won't walk in the house and see like a Bible verse or something on the wall like a lot of my friends' houses were growing up.
Mm-hmm.
My father doesn't even attend church or anything. He just holds a Christian belief. Same with my mother. Again, she attended synagogue like growing up, but when they moved her from New Mexico out here to the Midwest, she stopped attending, obviously, because we're a little too far from the synagogues to even attend. Um, I personally have attended a couple times, but it's not somewhere where I feel the most welcomed. Not necessarily because of like being queer or anything, but again, there's just
Mm-hmm.
not a lot of young people that
Mm.
practice here, or at least like go
Mm-hmm.
to the synagogue and practice.
Yeah.
A lot of them are like the age of my great grandparents or my grandparents at the least. So it's just not. I can connect with them, but it's not like the the connection I'm looking for of like other young Jewish or other young religious people, you know? So it just doesn't give me that kind of connection. But it's always been a part of our life. Like growing up, we did celebrate the Christian holidays somewhat for my father because like his entire side of the family celebrates them. So like I have celebrated Christmas, but it was never Christmas. Like there was no Christ in the Christmas for us. It was just okay, we go to the tree farm, we get a tree, we get some hot chocolate, and maybe we get a couple presents, but the presents are like a new winter coat, a new book. It's still very
Yeah.
much like what you would be getting for
Yeah.
Hanukkah
Mm-hmm.
because most of the time for Hanukkah you don't actually get presents, but if you do, it's like it's practical things. It's things that you're going to
Oh.
use that you actually
Yeah.
like need.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
you know,
That makes
it was
sense.
that kind of thing. Um, and like my dad's side of the family is much more Christian. Like they do attend church, but he's kind of like the outlier of them where he doesn't actually practice very much. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
his beliefs. And I think that's part of why him and my mom kind of like work so well together because both of them have differing views, but they're not like the end all be all. You know, we've always been open to explore and identify however we want. Um, Again, like with most of my siblings being agnostic or atheist, there's never been like punishment or anything for that. It's just like, okay, that's what you believe in. That's fine. Um, but like I was saying at the beginning, my mom did still very much keep like the traditional values of Judaism like alive and well in
Mm-hmm.
our house. So,
What does that mean for
um,
you guys?
well, like I was saying that like I'm an activist and have been for my whole life basically. As long as
Ah.
I can remember like speaking,
Mm-hmm.
I've been speaking out against things that are unfair. You know,
Mm-hmm.
speaking up for those that are less fortunate. Um, we were always taught to give back. I don't think I stated this previously, but I'm sure you could tell by some of our ages. My family is very, very mixed. I have some siblings who have been adopted. I have some siblings who technically would be what most people call like half siblings, but they're not. They're all just my siblings. Those are my siblings. I was raised with them. You know, we have the same parents. It doesn't matter how that came to be. Those are my siblings. You know, um, and with them coming from a very wide mix of like backgrounds, we were always just taught to again like love your neighbor, take care of others when you can, give back when you can, don't do harm onto others if you don't want harm done onto
Yeah.
you. Like it's very
Mm-hmm.
simple things, but it was values that she didn't necessarily have to take us to synagogue to learn. It was something that like we are all very left leaning, as you could probably tell. Um, Almost all of my siblings identify as some form of communist, and that's just because of how we were raised, and we were raised to not think that anyone is less than anyone else. Um, Again, just like take care of those around you, and also from being from such a small town, that was something that was also like alive in the culture around me. So again, I didn't have any like Jewish friends or anything growing up, but none of my Christian friends ever made me feel bad or anything for being Jewish. Um, there was times where other people in school would make like anti-Semitic remarks and things, and literally people would
Yeah.
like laugh at the person
Oh,
making the
that's
remark and being like,
wonderful.
"You're stupid, aren't you?" Like,
Yeah.
just being like, I
Oh.
don't know how you can believe that, and also you've gone to school with this person every day for the last like 12 years. So who do you think you're talking to here? Because there was literally one time where I had someone make an anti-Semitic remark to me, and it was at the student council meeting when I was the student council president for our grade, and I was just like, but what are we
Yeah.
doing here? What are
Who
we
do you
doing?
think
Like
you are?
honestly,
I
we're trying to
banish
talk
thee.
about like the what the theme should be for the homecoming right now, and you're over here just like talking nonsense. What are we doing?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That is
um,
wild.
I I feel like towards I'd say probably like middle school ish, like mid middle school, because I don't know how yours is set up, but my middle school was fifth through eighth grade, um, and then
Oh,
we were
that
just
is
divided
interesting.
onto separate sides of the school. So like
Hmm.
fifth and sixth grade were on the left side, and then seventh and eighth were on the right side. I would say somewhere around like mid middle school, like sixth grade, maybe seventh grade ish, was when I really started getting deeper into my Judaism and like actually wanting to practice, we'll say. Um, because I had lost my great grandma on my dad's side, who actually was also Jewish. No one knew it at the time, but she had just hidden it from the family when she married in to kind of keep herself safe because she was a lot older. And she's actually who, when I started practicing my Judaism pretty heavily, and I was like choosing a Hebrew name, I actually named myself after her because of how much of an impact she had on me. And like,
Oh,
she was
yeah.
such a loving, giving, kind person. Um, and I, I kind of want to be just like her. Like, she truly was another one of my like inspirations growing up, of being like an example of all the good that you can do. Um, she actually ran a. She's from an even smaller small town than where I grew up. That's about 30 minutes away. And she ran the laundromat in town. She owned and ran it, and
Hmm.
also owned and
Yeah.
operated the. It was called Video and Tan. Um, is how everyone referred to it, and it was literally a back when movies were actually a thing. We could buy DVD players and watch them. She owned an entire store that was you could go in and rent your movies, but the back half of the store was it was a tanning shop. There was like six tanning beds that
That
she
is
had.
such an interesting combination of
I,
things. The
yeah,
the
and
blockbuster and tanning booth.
the laundromat was directly across the street. So she owned this technically two buildings, but like three businesses all in one. And she would just sit at her movie store all day. Um, I grew up going there because she would get a Subway sandwich every day for lunch, and she would get a foot long, and she would eat 6 inches for lunch and 6 inches for dinner.
Oh,
And so
wow. We
every
love.
day I remember growing up, like, going and we would bring her her Subway, we would hang out with her, we would maybe get a couple movies if we were doing good, and then, like, sometimes we would go back to her house after and she would start a fire for us or, like, have my dad start a fire and we'd roast weenies, and she did this all the way until she passed when she was 92. um, but she was just always so full of like life. And she's actually who I got the veiling from because before I first started wearing a scarf, I actually started wearing wigs at first and then just decided that I
Oh,
preferred the scarf.
yes.
But
Okay. Sorry. Can I ask a question real quick?
yeah,
I
of
have
course.
similarly to the Sephardic word for techo that you said you've only seen written, so you didn't know how to pronounce it. I've only seen the Jewish word for wig written.
Shaitel.
Shaitel. Okay, because
Shaitel.
I was like, I don't know if it's Shaitil or Shettle or. So wait, say it one more time for me.
It's Shaitel, but you can
Shaitel.
kind of, yeah, you can kind of overpronounce it in different areas if you want. Honestly, it's really, people will know what you're talking about if you say
Shaitel.
it.
Okay.
But that
Cool.
that
Thank you. I've
actually,
wanted to know how to say that word correctly for a while because I'm like, I know I've seen it written a bunch of times, but I've never heard it. So thank
yeah,
you.
and especially because that's also an Ashkenazi word. Especially a
Oh.
lot of the times when it gets translated, because
Mm.
okay, so my family being Sephardic and Ashkenazi, I
Hmm.
have grandparents and great grandparents and stuff that spoke both Ladino and Yiddish. However, both of those and most Judeo languages, like there's Judeo Arabic, there's a specific, I'm blanking on the name, but there's a specific one that Bukharian Jews speak. All of them are written
Interesting.
with the Hebrew letters. They are just a different language because they are kind of like a conglomeration of what the languages of where those Jews are from, like the languages around them, mixed with Hebrew. So like Yiddish is a big mixture of like German, Hebrew, Polish, things like that. But it's all
Yeah.
combined into one, which it also
Oh.
comes from Jews often being traders and having to like speak with a bunch of different people in a bunch of different languages. So we kind of develop our own language that's like a mix of it. But they've always been written with Hebrew letters. So then translating it into Roman letters, which is also why I kind of have an issue because I actually can't read Hebrew. I can only read it when it's been Romanized and like transliterated. I only know like I know a couple of the letters in the Hebrew alphabet, but I can't speak it at all. I'm gonna be so honest. So even when I'm
Yeah,
doing
I
like
feel you.
my own research, I have to find transliterated versions of like there's a bunch of Ladino newspapers that I read. So I have to find or transliterate it on my own and just hope that I'm like translating it correctly from the Hebrew alphabet way that it's written to the Romanized version of it.
Yeah, I feel you. I also like I'm working on teaching myself Arabic and I recognize some of the letters, but it's also like inherently cursive.
Uh huh.
Letter like language, so the letters are all connected and you have to learn like this letter looks like this when it's in the like it looks different in beginning, middle and end, so you're not actually memorizing like 26 letters, you're actually memorizing like 3 times that amount. Um
Mm-hmm.
it's wild, and yes, it's I only can read things according to the transliteration, and so you don't actually know if you're pronouncing it right at any given moment. I just kind of have to go and like, go to Google Translate or go to like a Quran like recitation thing and be like, okay, let's just play this over and over and over and hope that like, I'm getting it
I'm
in
gonna
my
say it right.
ear and that like I'm mimicking it well enough to be able to be understood by people. Yeah,
No, I get
it's
that
tough.
completely.
It's tough.
And actually, now that you say that, that gets me on another point. Ladino, while it is written with Hebrew letters traditionally, at the time, because again, we moved east after being expelled from Spain, and a lot of them settled in like Turkey, Bukharia, all those kinds of places. Like basically, they just went from one side of the Mediterranean to the other side. We'll say for simplifying purposes. And the script that Ladino is written in, even though it's written with the Hebrew alphabet, it's called Rashi script, and it's very similar in look to how Arabic is written because it was influenced from us being in the Iberian Peninsula at the time and being under Muslim rule. So it's a very, I'll actually privately send you a picture later, but it's that very cursive, flowy with a bunch of dots and everything. And so it's a lot to try and learn all the different letters, learn how everything's written, because
Yeah.
it's also
Yeah.
similar, like you said, where if a letter's at the beginning of a word, it'll be written one way, but then if it's at the end of the word, it'll be written like completely different.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. It's very cool. I love like learning about different languages, but it is like, oh, did y'all have to make it this difficult? Like, you
It's
know,
beautiful, and we will
beautiful,
learn. We both will
gorgeous.
learn, but it's
Yeah,
just, whew,
inshallah. But yeah, ugh,
yeah, it's a lot of work for us.
it's a lot. You know, I thought that English, like having capital letters, was tough, but like, this is a whole nother level.
No, literally, we're in a completely different ballpark now.
Yeah, yeah. It's certainly interesting. Ladino, that's really I've never heard of that language. That's very interesting. Yeah, I was gonna say somebody in the comments earlier, Mateo Potato is somebody that shows up in my comments quite a lot, who's another Jewish person, and he was commenting something about Ladino, but I didn't know what he was referring to. But I guess that's exactly what he was referring to, is that he knows a lot about like Jewish history and stuff like that.
Oh,
So
I
he
need to
he
get
already
in
was
contact with
anticipating.
him.
Yes, yeah, it's Mateo Potato. So if you search him up on TikTok, uh,
Awesome.
yeah, no, he's a pretty cool guy. He comes in the comments quite a lot, and we have some interesting discussions. So, um, yeah, very
Um,
cool.
I don't remember where I left off, if I'm gonna be honest,
Oh,
on my
you're
story.
good.
Again,
We
I
were just
just get
talking
on a
about
bunch
kind
of
of
different tangents.
you kind of picked up the practice of veiling from your grandmother, and we're talking a little bit about her history and her businesses that she owned. And also, just for a time check, we have about 35 minutes left.
Okay,
Um,
awesome.
so just we can always have a part two to this, so we don't have to get to everything, but just letting you know if there are like specific things you wanted to get to today. Um, but yeah, you were talking about kind of picking up veiling specifically from your grandmother. Oh, and you were talking about you originally wore wigs, and then I derailed us by saying, how do you pronounce the word? Uh, and now I've already forgotten I only remember the ways that it was in my head. Uh,
Faithful.
Shaitel.
But yes.
Shaitel.
Um,
Shaitel.
so my grandmother, like I said, she was, bless her, she was quite old. But had she had been wearing wigs for almost 30 years at the time when she passed,
Wow.
and one of the very first wig, it wasn't the first one I wore, but it was the first one I ever ordered and like put on and everything, was basically as close as I could get of a replica of the wig that she wore, because she was a very Ashkenazi woman. um she looked the part very stereotypically. um she was a very short woman, and she had, for her, it looked like her natural hair, and she had just gotten it because it was the closest thing when she started losing hair. It was, the closest thing that looked like her at the time, and that's what she wanted in a wig. but it was this big black curly wig that stood out from her head in like all directions. And she would wear this giant pearl necklace every single day while eating her little Subway at her video tan store.
Oh.
And she that was what I had picked for my wig, which is not similar to my natural hair. I mean, I have naturally very curly hair, but I actually came out with blonde hair, which is odd because
Hmm.
all of my siblings are brunettes. I'm
Yeah.
me, the oldest brother, are the only ones that came out blonde. And
That
we've
is
also both
interesting.
lost it as we've gotten older. We've both become pretty dark brunettes of our like natural hair color as we've
Yeah.
aged.
Yes,
Um,
that is the thing. Like all of my siblings came out blonde and we all lost the blonde within the
yes,
first for us it was within the first 2 years. So it's not it sounds like it didn't take us as long as it took you, but all of us came out blonde and became brunettes within the first 2 years. But that is it's funny because I always think of it similarly to like kittens, where kittens all come out blue eyed,
yes.
but they don't stay blue eyed. And it
They
sounds
all just
somebody else in the
develop their
comments is saying the
colors.
same thing. They were golden blonde as a kid. And by the time they got to college, they were a brunette. Which I don't.
That's actually
Yeah.
exactly how mine was. I came out as like
Oh.
a very bright golden blonde, and then by the time I hit high school, my siblings would tell me I had dishwater hair because it
Oh.
still looked blonde at the time, but you could tell that it was like changing to brunette. So as it would be growing
Mm-hmm.
from my head,
Yeah.
like the tips of my hair would be like still pretty bright, and then my
Mm-hmm.
roots would be like dark brown, and it would look like I
Oh
just had a
yeah.
bad dye job. But no, it's and like even still in the summer, my hair will lighten up, especially at the roots where it's like getting hit by the sun, and you can tell that it's still like not a super dark brunette, but it is definitely no longer blonde. I would definitely say that it is like a true brunette. It's just a pretty light brunette, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that is interesting because I have the not the opposite, but it's like mine definitely like you can see my eyebrows peeking out. It's definitely like a dark brunette. But it used to be that back when like my hair was out, that because I kept my hair so long, like back when I like was not veiled, my hair was down to my knees because the hair
Oh
was so
wow.
long and it was out in the sun for so long. I wasn't blonde at all at that point. I have very dark brunette hair naturally. Um, but it was out in the sun for so long and it was years and years old that by like the ends of my hair would naturally be like ombre and they would be blonde at the end. Um, I would
Oh
just get like
wow.
golden tips because they would be so the hair is so old at that point. It's like, 10 years old that it gets just sun bleached. So I would have naturally like ombre hair, which was very interesting. Somebody pointed it out to me one day, and I had never realized it. And I told my mom that, and she was like, "You never noticed that? It's been that way since you were, like 12." Because I had been growing my hair out since I was like 7. I got a very short haircut when I was 7, where it was like boy short, quote unquote, where it was like an inch long. And then I never cut my hair again after that, other than the occasional split end trim that my mother would wrangle me through. Um, I didn't cut my hair at all until my father died, like 3 years ago. So I didn't
Oh
cut my hair for like 14, 15, maybe longer than that, maybe almost 20 years. Um, yeah,
wow,
I
that's
had
crazy.
super long hair, super long hair. Yeah, really
I'm
long time.
actually the opposite of that. I
Really?
grew up having long hair and I hated it, but that was the one thing my mom wouldn't let us do because her father wouldn't let her do it. And so we weren't
Oh
allowed to get
no.
boy short hair, even though I just wanted a bob, which back in the early 2000s were all the rage. I just wanted to have the frickin' bob like everybody else.
Yeah. Oh, I
And
remember that.
I was
Yeah.
just I was not allowed at all. There was one time where I was really excited because I had fallen asleep with gum in my mouth, and I woke up and it had
Oh,
gotten stuck in my hair,
and you were
so my
like, this
mom
is
was
the
forced to
perfect.
give me the bob. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was so
Oh.
excited, which ended up to me just getting grounded from gum, but whatever.
Oh. I was gonna say I was expecting this to end with the like, and she didn't cut it because she knew the peanut butter trick to get gum out of your hair.
No, I was just grounded from chewing gum then for years. Like
Oh.
actual years too, which was crazy, but
Wow, that is wild. Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, I feel that. It's funny because I like my family was very much a like the girls shall not cut their hair. But like I you were talking about kind of being like the trendsetter in your family. I definitely was always the one who like had to fight fight for your right to
yes.
party, you know. I always had to be the one where it was like my family was very very conservative in so many ways. So like I had to be the one who was like fight for the right to wear even like the tiniest powder of any kind of makeup, fight for the right to wear like a dress that was above the calf at all, fight for the right to cut hair. Like my father was absolutely adamant that like none of his girls shall cut their hair. Um, but I was like I had it, it was past my hips when I was 7, and I was like I'm a tree climbing kid. Yeah, I basically like kind of held my parents at like scissors hostage of like, listen, you got 5 of us. Do you really think that there's not going to be a moment where I get a hold of some scissors and I just make this thing happen? Do you really like
Because it will happen.
cuz it will happen, and either it'll look decent because you took me to a hair cuttery place and you like let them make it happen, or you'll take me to a hair cuttery place and it'll probably cost more because they'll have to fix it.
Yep. Do you want me to be
So
bald up into like the top of my head and have like a toupee, or would you like me to keep the bob? Because if I do it
exactly.
myself, we're ending up with the toupee type because I'm gonna cut too high and they won't be able to
Mhm.
fix it.
Mhm. And that's essentially like what I sat down and like told my mother, not my father, because I did not want to get like beaten within an inch of my life. But
Yeah.
I essentially told that to my mother, and then did get a bit beaten. But then she was like, the child makes a point, and she made an appointment
The
to
child.
get,
I'm sorry
you
that
know,
the way you said that,
uh,
the child.
well, I was 7, so I was a child.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but, so, because I was like, look, you have 5 of us. Like, I have determined that I don't like the long hair anymore. I climb trees, I run around, I do a lot of things. I'm tired of this, like, rope of hair that, like, hangs down my back and is, like, heavy and gets in my way and takes forever to wash and do all these things. So, like, it will be gone one way or another.
No,
And
exactly.
so but the problem was I immediately regretted it. Like I cried after we came home from the haircutting place
No.
because I was like, I don't like I didn't know yet that I was like, autistic and all these things. I was like, I don't like the fact that it feels so like, you know, 4 feet of hair weighs a lot, and it lends you to having a certain feeling. Like you get used to even like holding your neck a certain way because you're holding up a lot of weight. Like,
Mhm.
and I didn't like the fact that immediately everybody made fun of me because it was like, the late 90s and everybody was like, haha, you look like a boy. And I was like, I'm not a boy. Like, I was like, in my head, I was like, I'm not a girl, but I'm not a
No,
boy
literally.
either. like, you
I
know.
had the same issue because when my mom would be like, "You don't want a boy haircut," and I'd be like, "Well, I don't want a girl haircut either. I
Right?
just want a haircut."
Exactly. I don't I'm not any of these things. I don't want anything. I just want a haircut.
Yes.
And I was so mad because I had specifically wanted a haircut like one of my aunts who had this exact same short, what I know now is a little bit, it's almost like the classic lesbian haircut now where it's like short on the sides and long on the top. But the
Yep,
classic
yep.
lesbian haircut now is like 2 to 3 inches, and she had it like 1.5 inch. And I specifically got that haircut. That's what I really liked and wanted because she had that haircut. So in my head, I was like, of course it's going to be perceived as like girly enough to not get me like, made fun of. Because like I did not anticipate in any way that I was going to get made fun of for having a boy's haircut because I was like, I'm styling this after one of my favorite people, my aunt. And then like
Mhm.
to get blindsided with like, oh, okay, this was
Kids are
unexpected.
mean.
Kids are mean. Kids are very mean. But like, in terms of trendsetter, yeah, all the rest of my siblings then were like not for a few years because I think they saw how badly I regretted it. And my dad was able to be like, see, I told you, women are supposed to have long hair. And I decided based on like my personal reaction to hating the short hair that I was like, yeah, I'll never cut my hair again. And then I didn't for like 2 decades or more. But anyways, but when they all decided that they did eventually want to cut their hair, they were allowed to, you know? Uh,
But it's because
so
you had done that fighting back.
exactly,
That's how I am
exactly.
too.
Yes.
We're both the ones that like push back and make it to where it is open for the rest of them to kind of follow along.
Yep. Yeah. And there's that part of you that's like, "Ugh, it's so easy for y'all now though. Cause yeah, some of the folks in the
No,
Twitch
I know,
chat
I
are like
know.
talking about, like having like doors that were taken off and things like that. Like I had the same kind of experience of like, having my door taken off because I slammed the door one time, or like, having all of my belongings taken out of my room and having to like earn them back one by one versus like, having seen my siblings do, like my younger siblings do the same things later on. And then like none of that stuff happened. I'm like, y'all have it so easy because I
Yes.
like, you know,
And it's like I'm
established.
glad you do, but also there's that little piece of you inside that's like,
Yeah,
dang, why couldn't I get this? You know, like
exactly.
glad I
Exactly.
opened the doors for everyone else, but
Yes, and I think that's such a big distinction between like yes, it's not that I want them to go through the hard times. It's not like I suffered therefore you should suffer. It's why did I have to suffer? And I think that's such a big distinction between like the boomers and people who are like, ugh, I had to walk uphill uphill both ways to school or
to
whatever.
school,
You
10
youth
miles.
have it so easy, like why are you like I feel like so often I get rubbed the wrong way by people like that because I can tell that their underlying mentality is I suffered, therefore why aren't you suffering? Whereas I think the
Yep.
mentality should be I'm so glad you all aren't suffering anymore. Why did I have to suffer? I think it's totally okay to have that little seed of bitterness in you, but you need to recognize that the bitterness is about why did I have to suffer, not I suffered, therefore you should have to suffer too. You know?
Yes,
Um,
exactly. And
and
I
that's
actually,
so
now that you
important.
say that, sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. Sorry, go ahead.
I actually don't know how I didn't know before, but you had said that you have autism a minute ago,
Hmm.
correct?
Yeah.
Well, me too.
Hey,
I
autistic
have
gang.
ADHD, but that
Oh, yeah,
honestly that
same.
makes sense though on why we like. I feel like we have this a similar like cadence and like we talk in the same way where we're kind of like bouncing around, but we're having like a very coherent conversation for us, but we're like addressing a whole wide range of things.
Oh
Um,
yeah. No,
but
I have my
honestly,
best like discussions and interviews with fellow like ADHD and autistic people because it's And I feel like because the talking style is so often just interrupting each other, but no one feels bad
Mhm.
about that. Whereas I really struggle with my guests that are clearly neurotypical because it's like I you
I don't want
they
to interrupt
never
you, but like,
yeah. But like they never have a natural pause point when they speak. So it's like when am I ever going to get a word in edgewise cuz you never stop talking? So I don't want to interrupt you cuz I can tell every time I do that they like kind of pause and like jolt and get uncomfortable. But it's like you never pause talking. And like I
we're
know
supposed to be having like
me.
a conversation,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. And I know me, I'm never going to stop talking if you don't interrupt me because I forget that I'm holding
Mhm.
the talking stick and that like I'm supposed to put it down sometimes and hand it back to you. I'll talk for 2 hours uninterrupted and forget that like, you know, somebody else.
Me
It's like
too.
I don't forget that you're
I could
there,
talk
but
to myself in the mirror for 2 hours and
yeah,
still have more to say.
exactly. And it's not that I forget the other person is there. It's just that I forget that like the way conversation works is that like you got to hand the talking stick to somebody else. I love talking to ADHD people because we just grab the talking stick from each other when we want
Mhm.
it and nobody's offended by it, you know? Like I think that's the best
Exactly.
version of this. Versus yeah,
Yes,
when
me
you
too.
have a neurotypical person and they're just like they don't like it when you take the talking stick from them, but also they don't really ever hand it to you and they won't ever take it from you and it
Yes, I
feels
know.
very stilted and awkward and I don't do as well in those interviews. I'm trying to get better because I want to have, I want to be inclusive. I want to include the neurotypical people when I interview.
I don't know when that's ever been said
I
before.
know. I was like, dang, I'm trying to be so disability inclusive and include the neurotypicals in my podcast. But it's
Honestly,
hard. It's
mine,
hard to interview the neurotypical.
yes. And I don't know if it's similar for you since you do have quite a few siblings, but
Mhm.
my entire house has been diagnosed with either ADHD, autism, or both. So
Yes,
even growing up for me,
100%. Even my parents. Yeah.
yeah, there was always noise. There was always 700 things happening at one time. Um,
Yes.
my friends would never come to my house because I'd be like, it's a circus. There's like a
Yeah.
bajillion people. There's
Yeah,
a thousand
it is a
people,
circus.
and they'd be like, can we go to like my house instead? And I'd be like, sure. And then it's like them and their brother and one dog, and it's
And
so
it's
quiet, and
so
I'm just like,
eerily quiet, right?
oh, is this like how most people live? Like, is the loudness where there's like
Yes.
700 people all the time, is that not
Mhm.
normal?
Yeah, I remember when I went to university and like I couldn't sleep at night for the first few weeks because like even when like the house is quote unquote quiet, like it's not that quiet
It,
because,
no, it's not quiet.
like even when everyone's supposedly asleep, you can hear like the two siblings whispering in their room and like this person
Mhm.
reading under the covers and like somebody sneaking to the kitchen to like get a snack. Like you could there's still when there's that many people in a house, even when it's quiet, like it's never quiet. And during the day it's really never quiet. And I was like in my dorm and even in a university dorm full of college kids, it was not the level of noise I was accustomed to. And I'd be laying in my bed being like, it's so quiet. I can't sleep. It's so quiet. Why is it so
Yep.
quiet? Like, it took me so long to get used to just not being surrounded by the chaos and noise of a house full of, yeah, ADHD and autistic people. 7 people, and for you, 11 people. Like, or 12. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a big adjustment.
Yeah, it was actually typically there was normally like 15 of us in the
Oh
house at
my
any given point.
gosh.
Because, well, with us also being spread out, the older siblings would have one of their like partners over or something, and like actually when I was
Yeah.
much younger, when my older sibling's father was still alive, and they would like go over to his house for like the custody agreement, he would get them like one weekend out of the month. So like when they would go over, my
Mm-hmm.
oldest brother's girlfriend at the time, she would come over to our house and just sleep in his bed because it was down the hall from me and my little sister at the time. So like
Oh,
even when
wow.
the older siblings weren't there, there was still people filling in.
Yeah,
Or
I
like
can see that.
my mom's best friend, her three older children are actually the exact same age as my three oldest siblings. So they were always over at the house, or like things like that. You know, it was never quite, even if it wasn't necessarily my siblings, there is always people in the house. There's always someone making noise. There's always a dog barking. There's always, you know, just
Yes.
something happening.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And if it's not quiet, you can bet that either like something is going very wrong or someone's about to make it make noise. Like
Yeah.
I knew like the, there was always like a famous thing that would happen in my family where I would finally have like achieved this like magical moment where like I'm cooking or getting something ready in the kitchen. I've gotten like most of the kids settled on like the couches and they're all reading separate books or like, you know, one's playing with their stuffed animals. Like they're all settled separately, quietly. They're not even playing together, so they're not making noise that way. And it's finally like blissfully quiet. And then the oldest, the only one like assigned boy, right, would like wander out of his room and see everybody like being nice and still and quiet. And he would get this look on his face, and I'd be too far away to do anything about it. Because if I saw him about to do this, I'd go grab him by the ear and be like, "Not today, boy." But you know, if I was like in the kitchen or doing something where I was too far away, I'd be like, "Oh, no!" And I'd see him get this little look on his face, like it's too quiet in here. And he'd walk up
Mhm.
behind one of them that's like sitting peacefully, quietly on the couch, and just give him what we would call a Gibbs smack from NCIS behind the head, where you just kind of like whap somebody up on the backside of their head, just to like
Mhm.
start the squalling up. And you know, it would go in 1 millisecond from like blissful, peaceful, quiet to just utter uproar. Because of course, whoever got smacked would uproar, and then everybody else would uproar about, "Hey, I was trying to do something. Why are you being so loud?" And then somebody else would uproar about, "Oh, now my toys got stepped on because you guys are fighting," and it would just, you know, erupt into chaos and be like, I'm trying to bake for your bake sale tomorrow. Can you please just go back to whatever you like? Boy,
It
you could
took
have
me
just stayed
45
in your
minutes to get you set on
right,
that book already.
right, and you, boy, could have just stayed in your room doing whatever you were doing. Why did you have to wander out going, "It's too quiet"? Like just because, you know, and that in itself should be like diagnostic criteria for ADHD of like
No,
you can't
literally,
stand the
literally.
quiet, and so you have to start some chaos because you need the background noise. Like in the days before you could just put on a YouTube playlist or something, you need to create your own background noise. So you start up the sibling squall, like, oh,
No, I get that
mm,
completely. My older
yeah.
brother used to, you could be sitting on your phone doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Just say you're sitting there like Snapchatting, because that was big when I was actually in high school, you
I was
know.
gonna say, I forget also that you are significantly younger than me. So I was like,
Yeah.
Snapchat, oh my gosh, Ghost is young.
See,
But yes,
I feel old saying
continue.
those things
Snapchat.
because of like how young my siblings are. So like
That's
I was
fair.
talking about
That's fair.
freaking I think it was Kick that I had mentioned the other day, which on its own is already a whole nother story. But I had said something and my little siblings were like the cereal brand, and I was like, "Oh my gosh. First off, that's Kix with an
Yeah.
X, not a
Yeah.
second K. B,
Mm-hmm.
not anywhere close. Oh my gosh, I forget
Oh.
how like young you children are.
Yeah. Oh, babies.
Um, so he would walk up, and if you're sitting there like typing, texting, you know, I don't think you're this old, but you could say like MySpace for you or something. But he'd walk up, he would just
Yeah.
take the top of your phone and completely flip it. Didn't matter where. He'd toss it into your face. He'd toss it into your lap. He'd do
Oh.
whatever. Or
Yeah.
like me specifically, I don't like things touching me at all. I am very big on like my fabrics and my textures that are allowed to touch my skin. So whenever I would get out of the shower, I would do my whole little skincare. And I also have OCD, so I'd be like washing my hands in between each step of my skincare, making sure that they are clean, making sure like everything is settling
Yeah.
in. And I
Mm-hmm.
would walk out of the bathroom, and he would poke my face, and oh my gosh, it would drive me
Oh.
insane, and it would start the
Yeah.
sibling squalor, and I'd be yelling at
Yep.
him, and then he would be complaining to our mom, and
Mm-hmm.
oh, you know how it
Mm-hmm.
goes.
Yep. Yeah, and I also just have to officially say, because now people in the chat are being like, wait, I'm young. Yes, I'm here to officially declare if you're under 30, I mean, also,
30, what?
anybody who's under 50, like 50 is when you start being middle-aged. So even I am
Okay, yeah,
not
I
that
agree with
old.
that.
I'm
I
not
agree with
I'm
that.
not even that old. But yes, if you're under 30, you're very young. Very young. Especially to me, you're very young.
This is
Uh
putting me into a whole new perspective though, because I actually just assumed you were in your late 20s. Like I could tell that you were older than me, but I did not assume that it was over 30. I just thought it was like 28, 29 or something. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, no, you're good. You're good. Yes,
Now
I
I
keep
feel
my
like calling my siblings old, being like, oh yeah, he's 32, he's old.
you're totally fine. I keep my actual age a little bit vague because like I don't, it's easy, it's
Yes,
too easy
yes.
to put together like if people know your age in years and then I let slip, oh, my birthday is X, then like amazing. Now
It's
you have
like
a big piece
uh,
of personal information. So
yeah.
like, I keep it vague. I am between late 20s and early 30s, and I just let people guess where in that
Okay.
range they want me to fall. Maybe I'm 35, maybe I'm 25. Where do you think I fall in that range? I will never answer. But yes,
I like that. I like
yeah,
that.
I always just say like, hey, if you're under 30, you're a baby. Lovingly, I love
That
you
I agree
all.
with
You're my
too.
babies. Because people, especially like in this day and age, I feel like people are like, oh my gosh, I'm like 27. I'm so old. I'm like, bro, what? Like you are a
No.
baby. Like you have
Yeah.
barely begun life. Like you don't even like, you know, you're not middle aged till you're 50. So what half of that is 25? Like you have barely begun to do anything, you know? Like your life just barely begins at 30. You've just barely
Yes.
gotten past like, your awkward stage. Like I don't know, I
Uh,
feel like people think that their 20s is for having things all figured out, but like, you know,
no, I feel like
you're
a child.
exactly like
Like
you're
I literally wake up and I still feel like I'm like 15. I'll be like,
exactly.
wait, it's not 2014 anymore. I'm not still like a 15-year-old in high school.
Yeah.
Because I still
No.
I don't feel like, I mean, I feel like an adult, but like I don't feel like I'm like grown, you know? I feel like I'm still like
Mhm.
a kid figuring this out.
Yes. No, I fully believe that like your 20s are essentially teenagerhood part 2,
Mhm.
Electric Boogaloo, but like this time it's just like the training wheels are off. Like teenagerhood is with the training wheels on of like if you are, blessed you get to do that at home with, you know, loving parents and stable, like if something happens, you still have a roof over your head, you still have food to eat, whatever,
Mhm.
not all of us are blessed to have that, but ideally that's the way it's supposed to work is that your teenagerhood is you're figuring things out but with the training wheels on. And then your 20s are you're figuring things out but the training wheels are off now. You're still trying to figure yourself out, you're still trying to figure life out, but now it's just okay, your mistakes have greater consequences. You mess things up, you might end up not with a roof over your head and stuff anymore. But other than that, you're still very much in figuring things out. You are not meant to have like Quill, yeah, you are not meant to have things figured out at 22. You are not meant to know what you're supposed to be doing, who you're supposed to be, Like I listen, and I felt the same way when I was in my like early 20s. I was like, I'm going to be like married by 22. I'm going to have my first kids by 23. Like I got to be on this timeline. I got to be doing this. And then, like by the time I got a little bit older than that, I was like, you know what? No. 20s are for just being a teenager, but with a little bit more resources and a little bit more consequences and a little bit more freedom to say, I don't have to chafe against like the strictures of my parents or whoever I'm, being guardianed under. Um, yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Cause like,
Anybody who's in your 20s, please don't feel like you are grown in any way other than like you have the right to make
we
your own
have legal
choices.
rights that we have
Yeah,
to like
exactly.
abide by.
You have legal rights, but other than that, like you're not grown and nobody expects you to be. Oh my goodness.
No, cause
Don't
like
put that pressure on yourself.
the age that I am now, my mom was married and had 3 children by this time. I
Good gracious.
I have 3 cats,
Hey, there
and
you
am
go.
in a long-term relationship, but I have three
Nice.
cats and we're not married. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't plan on doing that. I definitely wouldn't plan on having a child anytime soon. And
Yeah.
I've been out of my parents' house since I was, 18, and
Mhm.
not like I wasn't already having to like act like an adult before that, but
Yeah.
like I've physically been out since I was 18. So like
Mhm.
even with that and with the life experience that I've had, I still wouldn't like I wouldn't go out and have a kid or like adopt a kid or anything. I don't think I'm ready for that. I don't think most people are ready
Mhm.
for that even when they think
Yeah.
they are.
Exactly. Well, and I think honestly that's really important to know because like okay, maybe your mom had 3 kids by the time she was 23, but like was she ready to have had those
No.
3 kids? Like, were those kids better off for having a mom who started momming at like 18 or 19 or whenever she did? Like, we're so obsessed with like living up to our parents' standards and everything like that that we don't stop and think like, okay, but was
Is it a
that
good standard though?
exactly, was it a good standard and was that best for everybody in that situation? When I look back and I think now like, hey, what would my life look like if I had actually hit all those milestones? I would have been a terrible parent at 21. I did
Mhm.
not have my stuff figured out. I did not have all of my I mean, not that I have all my anger issues solved now, but I'm certainly way further along than I was at 21. I've read way more books. I've like gotten a lot more parenting resources under my belt. I've done a lot more unlearning of like the way I was parented. I am certainly not, a perfect person now, but the parent I'll be now, hopefully soon, is a way better equipped parent than me at 21. And I think that's way better for everybody involved rather than lamenting, oh, I'm so much older now, maybe, whatever I might have lost in terms of time or resources or biological availability or whatever. I'd rather celebrate that the, the kid that I have will have a better parent now.
Exactly. They will then be able to be a much better child, a much better person to those around them in their community, to basically everything. Because I know you had just said like if like wanting to have a kid or whatever. I personally I will never like give birth to a kid. I don't
Mhm.
actually think I even want kids, but even if I do, I would be adopting them. So
Mhm.
I don't care if it takes me until I'm 60 years old to decide,
Mhm.
okay, I think I'm ready to have a child now. I think that's where I'd like to like move with my life. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And what it seems like you care about too is like being in a stable place to give that child what they need,
Mhm.
because you could have a child at any age technically,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean you're going to be a good parent. That doesn't mean you're going to be able to provide for them. That doesn't mean that you're going to actually meet their like necessary milestones for them.
Mhm.
I mean, even now there's a lot of parents who don't even like read to their kids and stuff, which
Yeah.
to each their own, but you're not necessarily raising the best member of society by doing that,
Mhm.
you know?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, no, and like it also, I think it's so important to think about how many years do you have left ahead of you, because like so for example, like in my marriage there we have a significant age gap between my wife and I, but I always knew that was probably going to be the case when I got married, because it was really important to me to find somebody who had either already had kids or currently had kids, somebody who this was not going to be their first time around, because I raised my siblings, like my parents were pretty
Mhm.
neglectful and kind of checked out, starting when I was around like 9 or 10. So I spent almost a decade raising my siblings. And so I consider myself to have kind of already had my first batch of kids. I know what it's like to have to attend PTA meetings and balance a budget and, meal plan and grocery shop and keep a house clean and, you know, do all of those sorts of things, because I've been doing that for a long time. Like the last one moved out of my house last year. Like I've been doing this for a while. So I didn't want to have somebody who like this was going to be their first go round, because I can't be raising a parent alongside raising kids. So
Exactly.
I knew,
I relate with that 100%.
yeah. So I knew that like more than likely, because I have kind of a unique life circumstance, if I wanted to find somebody who already had experience raising kids, they were going to be older than me. And that was perfectly fine with me, because I never worried about whether we're going to be the same age. It's, are we at the same stage in life? Do we still both
Mhm.
want kids? Because as long as you still want kids, that's all that matters. And one of my wife's fears was like, yes, of course I still want kids. She's had kids from her previous marriage. They live with her ex-wife. They don't live with us. She still wants kids. She wants to have, like an expanded family with me, alhamdulillah. But she's like, because I'm older, are you okay with the possibility that like, you know, what if I die like before the kids are grown or whatever like this? I'm like, okay, like what if I die? Like, we don't
That's true.
know.
You can die at any
Yeah,
time.
anybody can die at any
It's not a set
time.
in stone.
Like that's just kind of like life, baby. Second of all, if you think about it, like, you're X years old, how many years do you have left? Or like my somebody in my family recently told me like I've decided I'm living to 96, and I was like, fabulous.
Okay.
I don't know what
Okay.
information you like premised this on, but like amazing for you, congratulations. And they were like, that means that like, it made me realize that like that means I have like 30 or 40 years left. So like that's a really long time. What am I gonna do with 30 or 40 years? And I'm like, well, better get cracking on what your
Yeah.
plans are. You know what I mean? Because yeah, that is a long time. Because if you think of it not in terms of like, oh, I'm so, like the people who are like, oh, I should have had everything figured out at 22. Okay, if you think about like, I'm gonna live till I'm 96. Okay, that means that you have 84 years left. What are you gonna do with 80? Do you think that you should have had everything figured out when you have 84 years left? You're like, nope, I figured it all out. Now I just gotta coast for the next 84 years.
And where's the fun in that
Exactly.
too?
Where's
Because
the fun in that? And also, like, what?
yeah, because it seems that we have a similar childhood experience. My parents were
Mm-hmm.
pretty neglectful in like the same way and everything, and
Yeah.
I have 6 siblings that are younger than me,
Mm-hmm.
and again, one of them is just now turning 6. Like
Mm.
I,
Yeah.
I have done my time raising children. I
Mm-hmm.
have done my time doing that. My
Yep.
time now is for getting wine drunk on Shabbat, and like
Yeah.
there's no other thing that I need to be doing right now other than
Mm-hmm.
actually getting to be a child for the first time. Like you
Yeah.
were saying, it's like the teenage years part two. This is
Mm-hmm.
like my teenage years were my adult years. My adult years are now my
Yeah.
teenage years. Now I get to like let loose and not
Mm-hmm.
worry about if I have to like get my siblings in bed in time tonight, what I'm cooking for
Mm-hmm.
dinner, all those kinds of things,
Yep.
like uh,
Yeah.
it's just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that happens so often with big families, because in order to take care of that many kids, you either need to have a village of actual adults, or you just end up turning the older kids like, parent
Parentifying the older
Sorry,
kids, yeah.
my brain was going parentalizing. Like, that's not the right word. Yeah, you end up parentifying the older kids because you simply don't have enough hands. And like that's a
Mhm.
commitment my wife and I made each other really early on. Was that like we want a big family. We both really love kids. We both really love big families. But after every child, we will stop and evaluate and say, do we have the capacity to take care of another kid? Financially, emotionally, physically, in every way, based on our current resources of like, even again, like village wise, like do we have enough friends and family and everything in our area to, babysit when we need it and things like that without relying on the other kids? Because
Mhm.
I never want it to be, hey, we need to run out to the store, so and so watch your siblings. No, so and so
Mhm.
is a child themselves and should never be placed in that position. Like that, I simply
Yeah.
believe that is not okay. If you are at a point where you are having too many kids and you are having to use your kids to watch your kids, that's too many kids. You need to stop. Birth
Yeah,
control exists for
you've
a
already
reason.
surpassed the limit.
Yeah, that birth control exists for a reason. You need to be using it. Like
Mhm.
that's too many kids. And I say that as somebody that loves kids and comes from a big family and comes from a lineage of big families. But you
Yeah.
cannot use your kids to take care of your kids because at that point you're not actually taking care of half of those kids. You're not taking care of the ones who are taking care of the other ones. Those ones are getting neglected. So
That's also part of the reason on why I am a private nanny to families and stuff now,
yeah.
because of how I was raised, being one of the older siblings that,
Hmm.
had to take on those responsibilities while I was still a child.
Hmm.
It makes me want to try my hardest to make sure that as many children as I can possibly help make that not be their reality.
Hmm.
That is like one of the driving forces. If I can nanny for a family and
Yeah.
their 10-year-old can go play with his Legos like he wants to do rather than having to like help his
Hmm.
6-year-old brother or something because the parents are both still at work until 6 kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
I want to make sure that they can have that I don't know, have that like experience that I didn't get because it is so foundational and like that is one of
Yeah.
the basically like building blocks in your young childhood is
Hmm.
either not becoming parentified and living like an
Hmm.
actual standard like child life where you're able to explore and grow or going down that parentified route and you can't ever really like escape that
Yeah.
once it's been put into your brain, especially as such a small child. There's
Hmm.
not really anything you can do to rewire it as much as like learning how to live with it, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yes. And somebody from Twitch is saying that's very noble of you, Ghost.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
do also just love kids. I've always loved kids and like
Yeah.
again, I think being from a big family is part of that because I love my siblings so much. I also just love childhood development and like how the brain
Yeah.
works. I am very much into psychology and sociology and
Hmm.
I actually originally was going to college to be a neurosurgeon because
Ooh.
the brain is one of the most fascinating organs to
Yeah.
me. So like it all kind of ties together. I just love development and how different things affect you differently and like figuring out ways to like accommodate and help people basically.
Nice.
Which I think that's also why I'm now a tarot reader as well because I like being able to give guidance or advice based on all of my wacky experiences I'll say that I've been in throughout my life because being one of 10 kids it makes you experience so many different things that most people don't experience throughout their life or don't experience till they're older like
Mm.
there's a lot
Hmm.
of things I experienced as a child that most people don't ever experience, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. Yeah. There's definitely, I get told all the time, like, you've lived so many lives. And I'm like, well,
Yes.
you gotta when you gotta figure out how to survive and gotta, bring these kids along with you.
I'm sure people tell you as well that they tell me all the time that like you should write a book or you should have a
Yes.
TV show and I'm like,
Yes.
haha, yeah.
I mean,
But
at this
also
point, that's basically what I do.
I just maybe would have preferred at the time to like not go through all those crazy things, but
Yeah.
sure, I guess I'll write a book now that it's like already happened.
Yeah, it's like, it would have been cool if I just simply had a normal life. But if this is what we got, I guess we'll turn it into
We'll work with
something.
it.
Yeah, we'll work with it.
Yeah.
But all right, well, I hate to cut this short because I am having such a nice time talking to you, but it is after 4 where I'm at, so I've got to
Yes.
get on to the housewife life. But thank you so much for coming on. This has been such a wonderful time talking to you and hearing about your
Thank you again for
perspective.
having me.
Yeah, thank you. Well, everyone, make sure you go and follow Ghost over at Currently Ghost and Guidance of Ghosts. Is there anything else that you would like folks to do, or place for them to follow you or check you out, or last messages to the crowd, folks?
Well, again, thank you specifically for having me.
Oh,
Thank you,
thank
everybody in the
you.
chat who's been so lovely throughout this. I had a wonderful time talking with you, and honestly,
Yeah,
I would love to come back and do a part two at some point and talk
absolutely. I
some
would
more
love
since
that.
I'm also having a wonderful time just
Yeah,
getting to sit and chat with you. Um, but like, just remember that there is a lot more similarities that we all have than differences. Like,
absolutely.
truly, there is so much that we all have in common if you actually look for it. Like, even before
Hmm.
going into this conversation with you, we really only had a couple conversations, and I feel like we've gotten to laugh and giggle this entire time because
Yeah.
we were looking for that common ground. We were looking for
Hmm.
places to learn from each other. So just keep an open mind, honestly.
Yeah, I know. 'Cause there would be so many people who are like, what is a, fully veiled Muslim niqabi and a, Jewish person who practices tarot going to have in common? And then what, we talked for over 2 hours and had the best time laughing and cutting up and finding that we are almost the same person in some respects. Like,
Yeah.
we have so much in common and we've had such a good time talking. Because it turns out, guess what? Underneath, we're all people.
Yep, we are all just people,
Mhm.
literally.
Yeah, no, I think that is the perfect takeaway, perfect way to end the stream. So thank you so much, Ghost, and I will go ahead and let you go from the guest thing, and then we'll go ahead and sign off and take everyone on Twitch for a raid over to Rad World if he's online. And Quill is saying thank you to Ghost and to me and to everyone. This was a great stream. So all right, I will let you go here, Ghost, and yeah, we will be in touch for a part 2 for scheduling that. Thank
Awesome, thank you. Have a good night.
you. You too. All right. So let's for everyone who is on TikTok and YouTube, thank you all so much for joining. This has been such a wonderful discussion. I appreciate you all giving your input. This has been really, really lovely. I always love Guest Wednesdays. Those are some of my favorite episodes. I get the most nervous for Guest Wednesdays, and then those always end up being my favorite events. So I should just stop being nervous because they always end up being lovely. All right, so if you are on YouTube or TikTok, we are going to say goodbye. And for those on Twitch, if you want to stick around, we are going to go raid Likely Rad World if he's online. We will double check real quick, and if not, then we'll find someone else. Let's just check here. Okay, looks like Rad World is online, so we will go ahead and raid Rad World. All right. Well, I love you all so, so much for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thank you all for coming in. Pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put so much ease and barakah in your day. And until tomorrow, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh and masalama.